What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of our Behavior Makeover series. Now, these are open to the public, so if you are on our email list, you will get a call for submissions in order to have your problem be solved right there on one of our Zoom sessions. It's usually, I think it's the second or third Thursday of every month. So what is important to me, though, is what you'll see here. This is a really common problem. So we're going to be working with food aggression in a 16-year-old red-tailed hawk. And what you'll see here is that we're going to run some B-roll over us talking, and that's because what I find is that this is not my first day on the internet. I really value here in the Avian Behavior Lab is creating safe and supportive spaces that no matter what happened with this bird, whatever occurred, whatever got you here, maybe it wasn't even something that you were working through, maybe it was a rehome situation. It doesn't matter to me. The point is that we're accessing resources today, right here, right now. And that's where the change starts. That's where the rubber hits the road. And so I really wanted to make sure that this person felt safe reaching out, sharing her story, sharing the work that she was doing with the bird, because it really, everything that people do, every time that you're reaching out, that is something to be celebrated. So I felt really honored that Rachel wanted to come to me and talk about the situation that she was working with her bird. She and her team, I should say, was working with her bird. So there's all different kinds of ways that we can talk about food aggression with birds of prey. It's a really common scenario, especially in all the ways that we work with them, whether it's falconry, whether it's in a zoo scenario, whether it's even in a wildlife rehab and education center. So a lot of times you'll see in this B-roll that it may not always match up. The bird that I'm working with, our criteria may not match up exactly with what she's talking about. But regardless, that's why consultations are so important, is because there's always going to be difference in the environment, strengths and weaknesses with our team, with the infrastructure, all of those things. So just really talking through all of the nuances, all of the novelty items that we have in our hands, and how we can work with the bird in order for everyone to succeed is so valuable. So let's get right to it. So you were telling me in the behavior makeover form that you're working with your red-tailed hawk, just kind of some traditional methods, and there were some issues with maybe some other trainers as well. Is that kind of what we're looking at?
Yeah, basically, just some previous long time ago trainers and different training methods, and we have, as a facility, have like worked away from that, and specifically for this particular bird, definitely trying to move away from that because a lot of the long-term negative effects have been showing pretty much for years now. So
yeah, pretty common, pretty kind of by the book. And how old is she?
She is, I got that. She is 16 to my knowledge.
Oh, okay. And what is kind of like what kind of programs does she do?
So she has been basically a hands-off bird for many years now. And so no programs. Okay. She used to do, for a very brief moment, she did, I guess, some free flight programs to my knowledge, but that was quickly pulled from her due to some really negative situations, which I don't know too much of that because it was way before my time. But right now, I'm basically just trying to reassociate, her with her connection with humans, really. So,
okay,
just being able to go in and safely feed and perform medical exams and things like that.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of like our baseline is like, let's just like go in safely, feed. What does it look like when you do try and do that?
Depends on the day.
Yeah.
So she usually, sometimes she will, if she's having her day, it will be a lot of, she has done things such as like fly at the glove, fly at your head, unprompted, even without food. We've done some ad-libbing with her. So we've gotten her at a pretty high weight. And on those days, we made really good progress with her, and actually got her to come to a working perch and she'll show a lot of like calm, positive behaviors, just as in like us being able to be in there and actually like hand her food, or even be able to safely put food on the perch, and things of that nature. So
Okay.
usually that's the case when we have her at the right, I think where she's settled at a comfortable weight, which is a little fat, to be honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, how big are her mews and stuff like that? What does that look like?
It's her mew is large. Her mew is very large. She's got a big, nice open space up top, netted, but towards the back of the woods. And I think she does kind of get some interaction with other birds around. We're in a very forested area. But she's got, she has a shift system.
Okay.
From when she was a hands-off bird, but now we're trying to make that like a move forward working with that shift system.
Yeah.
And she's got several, back perches, but I mean, she's got a large mew.
So what does aggressive look like to you? Like what is like when she's like when you walk in there, like she's flying
she's usually she's literally flying at her sometimes.
Yeah.
And she's an intelligent bird. I think she's had a lot of experience with a lot of different humans. So no telling, she hasn't had too much consistency, I don't think, except for maybe a period where she had a lot of negative consistency. But she definitely has a lot of mantling, which I'm less worried about than hackles. She gets very locked in and intense, and then will actually swerve the glove and come right for your head sometimes. Yeah, she's got what I would say, I guess, is those would be my aggressive behaviors, I would think, for her.
Okay. Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay. Like what's goal number one? Like
goal number one is just having her maybe not think that we are a negative, that, her trainers are a negative. I don't want her to, I want her to be able to basically not be afraid of us, or not feel like we're going to take her food. I feel like that's what she feels like. She feels like we're going to take her food. She's very protective over it. And then some days I'm not sure what she's protective over. It all seems food related, like food was used maybe against her in some shape or form, but I just want her to be able to get the best possible care, and for both parties to be safe. I want her to be able to have medical exams, and for me to be able to weigh her and it not be a dangerous situation for either party. So basically, I mean, the bar is low. The goal is low.
Yeah. Okay. And then how do you feed her? Like do you always go in, or like is there a way to just like throw food in, or what does that look like?
So we have had different ways, depending on where we're at in her training. We've taken a step back right now because I think she was kind of nesting a little bit.
Okay.
And she went for a very deep molt. So I think we had to upfeed her a little bit. She got hungry basically, and get food aggressive. So we go back from chute feeding her, which is literally just the chute that drops in the ground. And that's what she's been doing for a very long time.
Okay.
She's been chute fed for a very long time. Probably in the last 2 years, I've been having her perched to her working perch with like a verbal command before I drop food. She also sometimes gets fed in her shift system. So we can weigh her from a like Bluetooth scale. And also get into her enclosure and clean and things like that.
Nice.
So a little bit of both. And then we did have a solid couple of months where we were going in with her, feeding her safely, and it was visibly comfortable for both parties. And then it just quickly wasn't, I think, after the molt and the nesting season.
Okay. You guys are really well set up. I'm a big fan of chute feeding. Is it concealed approach? So like it's just like on like a solid wall where she wouldn't necessarily see you just like dropping the chute, or is it?
Yes. I think only my like neck up would be showing. So she can see from my neck up, but below that, I don't see her. When she goes down to eat, I don't see that.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, good deal. All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's get started. And like I said, she's got some really good behaviors that it sounds like we've got a pretty good baseline to work with here, which is
Mm-hmm.
really nice. And
Mm-hmm.
but also like a lot of history. So one of the things
Yeah.
that kind of drives me bananas about kind of the way that we've taught ourselves through social media is just kind of this like stabby approach where it's like, I'm going to try this, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to try something else. So that kind of way of being is really challenging because we very quickly find like something is not reinforcing through progress, so we try something new. And
Mm-hmm.
that can kind of like filter into real life situations where we just sort of like keep throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but it is very often the way that teams kind of are like, well, that's not really working for so and so, so I'm going to try it this way. And then it like creates like a lot of mantling, a lot of aggressive behavior, because we do get that frustration of the bird just wants predictability. Like that's what they want. They just want to know what is going to be
Mm-hmm.
happening to me. So uh, that's kind of a pretty common scenario. And again, I'm not saying that's like, like a direct correlation here, but I
Yeah.
do see a lot of frustration when they just can't like kind of figure things out. So that's
Yeah.
kind of number one. Number two is it's not uh, like we don't necessarily have to use food like for training in this kind of case, especially with the bird that does have a bit of food aggression issues. So
Mm-hmm.
again, like I get in my little world, I get to manage everything. I get to say exactly how much food the bird gets. And I know that's not always the case. So I'm going to make some suggestions. If like you're like, I don't have control over that situation, that's totally cool. I can make some suggestions and we can kind of push the envelope in your world as much as we can, and you can make whatever suggestions to your your bosses, the powers that be, and we can kind of see what we can get. um, but I would kind of recommend taking hunger out of the equation as much as healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that
Mm-hmm.
hunger and weight don't always, again, have that direct correlation, right? She can be quite plump
Yes.
and she's just like, screw you, I want that quail, or I want, I want what you
Yeah.
have.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but be that as it may, like I said, I would like to see if we can get her to a place where it's just like she's a little less aggro if possible. But as
Mm-hmm.
long as you can get her on the scale and you can just kind of be monitoring her so that she, we're not worried about bumblefoot, we're not worried about, heart disease and stuff, that would be
Mm-hmm.
helpful. And that's
Mm-hmm.
again just kind of like baseline. That's where I'm at, especially when I have a bird that I'm not flying where they're getting that fitness level.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things that we can do and we can get there. And it sounds like you have a pretty good understanding of kind of like how to get there. I like a good concealed approach when I'm not actively training and I'm not actively training like food from the glove or I have a food aggressive bird.
Mm-hmm.
And that means like pretty much fully concealed. So like the bird doesn't, like there's no person involved, and it's just like food magically dropping from this like weird hole in the wall. So as much as you
Okay.
possibly can, if you can put like any more shade cloth or even just like
Mm-hmm.
duck food in, that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I do try to do as much as I can, because it's like it really helps kind of avoid the person to food contact.
Sure.
And that's kind of what we're trying to get to, basically. To have a safety. Is that a correct assumption?
Elaborate on what you mean by safety.
Like a secondary room, sorry, like an ante room.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
some people don't, so I
Yeah.
especially like different regulations. So
Yeah.
okay, so that's good for us. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing is kind of just like the way that I kind of tick the boxes as I'm going through this. I love that you have a shift. That's like number one to staying safe. Like I'm a safety girl. Like
Yeah.
I really don't want to get hurt by a bird, and I don't want the bird to like, when I think about what it looks like, vulture, red-tailed hawk, eagle, any bird, parrot, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
want like the latching on. I don't want anyone to feel ever in harm's way when they have to
Yeah.
go in to take care of a bird. gross. The other thing that I would think about is like, typically speaking, normally, if I did not have to worry about the bird flying at my head, I would not wear a glove when I was doing husbandry, because I want it to be a food-free situation. Like, if I'm going in to clean, I don't want that bird thinking about coming to me. I don't want them looking at me for food. I don't want any of that. We're in a different situation, obviously, because again, safety. I might think of wearing like some completely different glove to signify like, hey, if you come at me, like I'll catch you, but this is not a transactional situation. So that glove could be a cue. And this is what I work with, like with a lot of my like education, wildlife rehab people, is because they do train, because they work with volunteers, they work with, staff that maybe doesn't have, as much experience as you might have. And so they're very obviously concerned about safety, but then the bird starts to get confused. Like, is this training or is this husbandry? I don't know which one, because we're wearing that glove. So I would try and then establish that sort of discriminatory cue where it's like, this is just the husbandry glove. Again, I'm staying safe, but it's a very different cue than this is my training glove.
Yeah.
If you have that capability, that's what I would do. Again, I am full safety girl. I really want people to stay safe. I would never go into a vulture's, like aviary to do husbandry without my glove. But I want it to be very clear, like, no, we're not here to play. So there's that. Okay. So that's kind of just like baseline. Again, if you can just like go in to do husbandry and shift her, boom, we're done. Like, I wouldn't even wear my glove. She's safe. I'm safe. She does not need to even be thinking about flying to me. And that would be wonderful. Okay. So now we're getting to the training part. And this is like the most important. Like, we need a shaping program basically that needs to be food free. And this is where non-coercive negative reinforcement comes into play really, really beautifully, because she's telling you with her body language, with everything, the hackles, the flying at the head, the mantling, stay away, right? That's her reinforcer. And so now we get to say like, okay, I'm going to give you what you want. And that's how this relationship is going to go. So that's where like having the safety there is really nice. And you're actually going to be able to shape calm behavior without like right in front of your eyes. So preferably this is a training session that you get to use with when she's like full, because that just like kind of sets you up already for her to be like a little bit calmer. But what I do is once this is a training session just like any other training session. So what I do is the bird is full. The bird is usually like already in a calm state. So I would cue her just like I would kind of however I wanted her to be when I want to enter the muse. Like, I'm picturing in my mind, like, okay, where do I want this bird to station? Just as if I were doing any other training session, if that makes sense. So where would be the safest place that she would be? And so I would cue her there, or I would wait for her to go there. And then I would offer her like the reinforcer that I think that she wants. And so that would mean me just like leaving, or, stepping back, just like getting out of her space. And like, that's the rep basically. So, so then we do it again. And so then I just kind of like click that door. I might even like peek the door. And again, I'm visualizing what this would look like for me. Your mileage may vary. I might just peek like through the door, and I'm like looking to see what she looks like. My guess, again, this is just a guess, as soon as she sees your face, she might just like slowly raise those hackles. Maybe, am I right? Okay. So she slowly raises those hackles, and you just wait. Like, you're not doing anything. You're just peeking through that door. You're safe, right? Because you're not putting your face like any further. And then as soon as you see anything that looks like she's going to relax, and this is my list. she looks away, she puts her pants down, she
Mm-hmm.
like maybe like does
Mm-hmm.
something like this, she
Mm-hmm.
lowers those neck feathers. Looking away is usually the first thing. As soon as she
Mm-hmm.
does that, you shut the door.
Okay.
Second rep.
Mm-hmm.
And we go like that. You
Okay.
can do, I usually keep those first few sessions at like 3 to 5 minutes because this bird is going to be like, what are you doing? Like, no one has ever done this to me in my
Yeah.
whole life. And
Okay.
so it takes her a few sessions to be like, oh, this is all that you're looking for is just for me to like do this.
Mhm.
And so pretty soon, like I would like those are the reps that we're looking for. And it's usually by the second or third, it's usually by the third that you're actually starting to be able to enter. And like this is literally like what our course is where you can enter and you're not actually looking for her to the behavior that we're calling it is alert. So anything that
Mm-hmm.
she does where those tail feathers may start to spread, that's the alert behavior. We're not actually trying to push her into alert. So if
Mm-hmm.
after like a few reps she's like, okay, nothing's happening, then you're still reinforcing, right? Because you're like, this is
Mm-hmm.
great. This is what I'm looking for. So she's just getting used to you, just like getting your 10,000 steps in, just like you're just going back and forth and you're reinforcing calm behavior. And you're going slow enough so that if she does alert, then you're just like, oh, I caught it right at that before the head bopping
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
aggressive behavior. You're going slow enough and well, I'll get to all the other stuff, but you're going
Mm-hmm.
slow enough that she's not getting pushed into anything that she might think is like just wackadoo. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
loving it.
okay, good. So the other part of that is like it's helpful also to just see what parts of your body language can help keep her in that kind of calm state. So after 16 years, she's probably used to direct eye contact. She's probably used to all of these things, but it doesn't hurt to just try like, okay, what happens if I just kind of like keep my eyes like kind of downcast, but I'm like, peeking up at her? What does it
Mm-hmm.
help if I just like put my right shoulder or wherever she is? I don't know, but like kind of like I don't come full frontal at her, but I kind of just like come at an oblique angle, just like trying to do whatever you can to maximize her comfort, just to
Yeah.
see how long we can keep her in this comfortable state.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's funny because I have tried that, and she definitely notices.
okay, okay,
She does like when I don't make eye contact, and like, yeah, she's
okay.
definitely those things. So
Good. So,
yeah.
with that in mind, then you can actually reinforce the shaping towards the more normal stuff, basically,
Mm-hmm.
is what, because I've been working with a Harris's hawk where he like has even just been so, I mean, as Harris's hawks are, male Harris's hawks, I mean, any male hawk, let's be honest. But anytime I just like tip my glove towards him, he's like, oh, I cannot, And so I'm like, okay, fine. Well, then let's just like slice this down. And so if I just like, like boop, and he's fine with it, I'm like, oh, you're so brave, and I reinforce that. So you can slice it down. So you can be like, I'm looking at you. Oh, you did nothing. Great. And I'll reinforce with space is basically what
Yeah.
non-coercive negative reinforcement is. I like to say reinforce with space because it's descriptive, but let's be very scientific that this is negative reinforcement. Like that's the game. I mean, that's the science behind the shaping plan. And
Mm-hmm.
the idea is that you use that level of observation and awareness to every single step that you take with her. Then we're trying to remove food at this point from the entire equation right now. We'll get there. Like you can
Yep.
totally get there, but right now
Mm-hmm.
food is the problem, and so we don't have to worry about it. Like Yeah, we don't even have to worry about it. She'll step up on your glove without any food at all, I bet you. Like if you so, and usually with like, this is like, in the future, but usually with my birds like that, I don't even reinforce from the glove at all. Like I usually just like, once they do start stepping down, again, this is like way in the future, I just like drop a piece of food like on the ground. And then they hop off and then they get back on, or on a perch or something like that. But that's, I am very careful when I reinforce from the glove.
Okay.
I would be really careful with like how many people are involved in those sessions, because everyone is going to have like a different timing, sense of timing, different mechanics, different eye gaze, all of that, the way they move their body around and all that stuff. So it's really helpful, again, just kind of looking at the frustration level of where she is, that it would be really helpful to just kind of have everyone, as few people as possible be at that, at this early stage, and then transfer it once she's a little more comfortable.
Yes. Okay. So luckily right now in our situation, that I'm just the only one that's working with her. So,
okay.
So that should be no problem. And yeah, pretty much we have lots of time and one person and things devoted to her right now. So
perfect.
So all good.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Then it sounds like you have a lot of, okay. It sounds like you have a lot of like really good, just like, your infrastructure is really well set up for a situation like this, so that people stay safe. The bird, the bird can get well taken care of. And, like you could do something like this where one of the biggest interrupters to success is just not, being able to take care of that bird, and kind of like it interrupts the consistency.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So while we're doing this, without the food, would you say, does it matter? Should I be shift feeding her or shoot feeding her? I know the shift, I could make the shoot set up to where, she wouldn't see us. But I also have the shift. Should I just stick to the shift feeding?
Yeah, you could do either or. Yeah.
Okay.
You could keep that shift really strong, because we'll probably be relying on it, for situations like cleaning and all that good stuff. So yeah, you could do either or.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Awesome. Oh boy, we're back. Okay. Yeah. Anything else that comes to mind?
I don't think so. That was a question I definitely had, but I'm excited about reinforcing without food, because she definitely has, definitely a bad history with food, I guess.
Yeah.
And lots of inconsistencies and lots of, food related issues. So that all sounds really good for her. So
yeah, I worked with a couple of birds at that had a very similar kind of history around food, and just sort of old concepts of like, oh, you have to be able to take it away from them, kind of stuff. And what else? There was a lot of stuff that just kind of went around, and it makes for really long lasting problems in birds of prey, especially. And they have very long memories. And
she's very smart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't want to say like they hold a grudge, because that's not necessarily true, but they definitely remember. And it's like, oh, you're someone who can threaten my livelihood, basically. So, it's survival. So hear about your progress. So definitely keep us informed. Thanks so much. Awesome. Take care.